What's up, guys? Welcome back to Sunday Sports Club podcast, a podcast all about sports told by a woman. But today we have the Jacob Eason. Let me just give a little intro to who Jacob Eason is. He played quarterback for the University of Georgia and the University of Washington until he turned pro. Played on a couple of NFL teams, including the Indianapolis Colts, which is where we met with Isaac. And the most recently experienced Friendsgiving in Napa with me. So I feel like we go way back. It's been like 4 years.
Yeah, since 2020. It's been a while.
Yeah. So back when Isaac played for the Indianapolis Colts, I met your ex and we ended up all starting to hang out. And then you guys are obviously no longer together. And Jacob now has a cute little girlfriend named Hannah. And it's crazy because we have this like huge experience in the NFL, but now we are experiencing life outside of the NFL.
Yeah, no, it's been a wild ride. I've got to see, like you were saying, I got to see you guys and meet you guys before Scotty was ever in the picture.
Yeah.
Got to get a little bit as
our first year of marriage. So we were just like, we were acting like boyfriend, girlfriend.
Yeah, no, it was fun. You guys were a great couple for me to get to know early in my career.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously at the time with Sydney, it was great for her too. But no, we've all been through different phases of life, and now we're here, and I'm just glad we've stuck it out for as long as we have, because we made a lot of great memories, and we have so many more to make in the future. So.
Absolutely. And I feel like we can talk about this later on in the podcast too, but like friendships in the NFL, it's not even a hit or miss situation, but it's hard to find people who you like genuinely mesh with and like get along with even outside of football, because football, it's easy to go into the facility and like be friends with people and like hang out in a team setting. But then outside of football, like you guys lived in Orange County and now you live in LA, and it's like we're still making time to like hang out with each other. And it's crazy, just friendships go way beyond the NFL.
Absolutely. And that's one of the coolest things about having you guys. I've been through so many different phases and so many different teams. I've always had you guys to count on and lean on for whatever the situation may be. So I'm super thankful for that.
Yeah, and it's crazy because when you had some pretty big changes in your career. I mean, one of the biggest one being getting picked up by the Seattle Seahawks, but we'll get into that in a second. I want to take it all the way back because your dad played football at the University of Notre Dame, which is where Isaac went to college. So there's like a little common ground there. But did you grow up always knowing you wanted to play football?
I did. I grew up in a very athletic, motivated household. My dad, obviously, as you said, played. I actually grew up a huge Notre Dame fan, never having been to Indiana, never having been to South Bend.
He didn't take you to games growing up?
No, I mean, I grew up in Washington, so
yeah.
It was a long ways away. He was a fireman. My mom, worked in the school district, and I had an older brother and sister, so we were always doing, sports
everything else.
Yeah, exactly. So it's hard to get out to South Bend on a Saturday when you got youth sports and all that stuff. Lily's playing volleyball, but
yeah.
No, I grew up watching Notre Dame on CBS every Saturday morning with the green uniform, Joe Montana on, and I wanted to be just like my dad, so I wanted to go to Notre Dame and do the whole thing. And it wasn't until later that I, actually started getting recruited and things changed and different coaches kind of turned me away. But I grew up in a very athletic household. My dad coached me from Little League all the way up through high school.
Oh, that's cute.
It was amazing. And my older brother was he was a little smaller than me, so he played football up until his sophomore year, and then he transitioned to wrestling. But I was able to play with him a little bit in baseball and do some basketball stuff. Always looked up to him as well. And my sister's quite the volleyball player. So we grew up in a very athletic household, and it was an awesome.
It was
awesome
all
time.
about sports. Mm-hmm. I love that. And Isaac mentioned this. Isaac's brother knew of you before like our friendship, because you were a pretty big deal in high school. Like you were Gatorade Player of the Year. You were highly recruited. You were like literally, if not the number one recruit, like high recruited. And you ended up choosing Georgia. So talk a little bit about that experience. Like, when did you know, like, oh, I'm definitely going to be playing football in college? And more specifically, a college quarterback. I feel like those, like, there's only one starting quarterback on each college team. So talk about like the recruiting process.
Yeah, so you just made that point. The one starting quarterback on every team, that obviously factored huge into my decision. Mm-hmm. Going back a little bit, I always knew I wanted to play college football. As I mentioned before, I was a huge Notre Dame fan growing up. So every Saturday we were watching all the games, Notre Dame, UW, all of them. So I ended up getting my first offer from Oregon State my sophomore year. I remember
Okay.
it very vividly. And then after that, it was Washington State, and then the floodgates opened up. But
Everybody
no,
remembers their like first offer.
yeah.
Isaac's
So
was like Ball State or something. Maybe
right.
no, maybe it was Boston College. Oh God, Isaac's gonna get pissed at me. He's like, no, actually.
But yeah, so it started off as Oregon State. I did what everybody does. I did the local showcases, where you go with 500 kids and
I actually don't know.
Well,
I don't know anything about. So it's just like a showcase.
Yeah, so Washington State, they had these things. Taylor Barton at the time was doing them. Steve Jervis had a few. You'd bring like, I don't even know how, 500 kids. You'd pay X amount of dollars. You get a T-shirt. You go to a camp, and there's supposedly scouts and all this stuff.
Interesting.
Right. I don't know how legit it was, but apparently it was enough to get me on the map here and there. So yeah, I did a few of those. I ended up going to a few just college, summer camps. Went down to Oregon State, went down to Corvallis, went to Washington State, the local UW camps.
I didn't know recruiting was that intense. So you're like trying to like, it's not just, oh, you play high school football and then get recruited. Like there's things you can do to help.
Right, 100%.
Okay, I
Yeah,
did
you
not
could do
know
all
that.
those, but like also having a good highlight tape helps a lot too. So I had that. I actually got hurt my freshman year. I broke my arm the fourth game. I had just gotten the starting job, and we were playing Monroe High School, who we don't like in Lake Stevens, which is a deep cut from Washington State high school football. So I don't expect you to know that, but no, yeah, I had a great sophomore year, and then it was after that with that tape, and then doing some of those camps, and also my quarterback coach at the time, Steve Jervis, was a former college coach who had connections all across the board. So
that helps.
He played a heavy hand in getting my first offer, and then from there, once you get one, the more start coming. So, yeah, after my sophomore year was really when it became a reality, and my dad was also super helpful in the process, having been a college player himself. And one of my coaches. So all of my coaches in high school were great. Tom Try, Lou Widman.
Right.
We'd have coaches coming through all the time after, the offer started coming in, because then the recruitment's on. Now it's a who can get me kind of thing. So
the only thing I know about the recruitment process is from the movie The Blind Side. Is it kind of accurate in that like coaches are actually coming to your house?
Absolutely.
Especially for a quarterback, because a quarterback, some would argue, is like one of the most important positions. Like you can build a team around a good quarterback. So you had coaches just like coming up to Lake Stevens.
Yeah, I've actually got a few like really memorable ones. Like I remember when Kirby Smart just got the job at Georgia, and I was already committed, but I had kind of taken a step back to see, all right, who's Kirby Smart, who's the new coach at Georgia. He ended up, for his first flight at Georgia, was coming to my living room. It was around Christmas time after my junior year, and
your mom's just like, oh, do you want some coffee?
Yeah, exactly. We're sitting around the Christmas tree in the living room and just talking Georgia football, what his plans were, and who he was going to bring in as a staff. And so yeah, we had Kirby, we had Jim Harbaugh at my high school basketball game.
Oh my
that was
gosh.
nuts. I grew up in a smallish town, so it wasn't there was not a lot of heavily recruited guys before me. I think the first one that went D1 before me was in the 80s when my dad played.
Oh,
He went to UW.
interesting.
I think it was Brian Slater. So. You can cross-check me on that after this episode, but yeah. So like we're in a huge town on the map now. Now we're back-to-back state champions, 2023 or 2022 and 2023. But up until when I was there in 2016, that we weren't a really heavily recruited spot for football.
Which I feel like also sometimes does kind of matter, but also it helps that your high school coach, like head coach in college, so like the connection was there. But I was just talking to somebody yesterday about how like Texas, it's like you get recruited to high school.
Correct.
It's insane. And I feel like football has changed so much from like what it once was, especially when you were getting recruited.
Absolutely. And, obviously now with NIL and the transfer rules and all that, everything it's like the Wild West. It's all different. So there's I know even in Washington, there's kids going to prep schools and private schools because they have a better football program in the hopes of getting to a better school.
That's crazy.
No, I was very fortunate in the position I grew up in. I grew up in a very tight-knit community where everybody knew everybody. I got to play with my best friends from Little League all the way through. And,
that's cute.
And, I was just fortunate enough to have a big, strong arm and be 6'6", and a dad who knows balls. So
it all helps.
Yeah.
So then why Georgia? Did you ever think about like Notre Dame? Did you get an offer from like?
I did.
Okay.
I thought about a lot of schools. I don't want to cut you off here, but
no, you're fine. I'm asking.
I ended up like whittling down. I was very fortunate enough to be able to pick from a ton of different schools where I could go. So I I knew I was a Washington fan. I grew up in the state. I was also a Wazoo fan. All my buddies ended up going to Wazoo, but Washington actually offered me later than a lot of other
Wazoo is,
schools.
I have no idea. I'm from Michigan.
Washington State, the
Okay.
Cougars. At the
Wazoo,
time,
duh.
yeah, there you go. It was Mike Leach at the time at Wazoo, and when I was getting recruited by UW, it was Chris Peterson shortly after Sarkisian.
Okay.
But Washington offered me late. Wazoo obviously offered me early. But in learning from my dad, he went to Notre Dame. He also grew up in Snohomish County, the neighboring town from where I grew up.
Okay.
And he always told me, like, don't limit where you want to go to school based on where home is, because you're going to limit a lot of different opportunity. And, you know. So I took that and I kind of was like, hey, let me look at, 3, 4, 5 schools. And then my parents were fortunate enough to, hey, let's do a summer trip where we can hit 4 or 5 of those different schools, and we'll
that's
send
cute.
you to, a couple West Coast schools, and we'll send you to Notre Dame because, I was obviously interested in Notre
Right.
Dame. So I ended up I took a summer trip with me and my brother and my sister and my mom and my dad. We flew to Atlanta,
Wow.
drove down to Tallahassee, Florida, visited Florida State, did a camp there. Drove up to Tuscaloosa, did a camp there at Alabama, and then we finished in Athens and then flew back home out of Atlanta. And those were 3 of my top schools at the time. That's where I got my first real introduction and experience at University of Georgia, and I kind of fell in love with it right away.
Right.
Obviously, the football program was top tier. The facilities, the stadium, all of that was incredible. They did this camp called Dog Night. It was under the lights, all the top recruits in Georgia who...
They really put on a show.
It's nuts. It's like the SEC, and Georgia fans are just super, super into football down there. So, getting to
Absolutely.
experience and feel that as a 16, 17, 18-year-old was, out of this world. I was like, I want to come here and play football and be a part of this. So that was, my first introduction. And obviously, downtown Athens is incredible. The food, the Southern culture.
You fall in love with everything.
Yeah. It wasn't only just football. It was coaching staff, school experience, all of it. So
It is such a big decision, though, because your entire life is going to be projected one way or the other based off of what college you go to. And some people would disagree, but I do think that how well a college football team does affects your draft process and how high you might get drafted, and it affects a lot. So then you play football, you're the quarterback for University of Georgia. When did you decide to transfer?
So yeah, I was. It's a great question. I played and I started my freshman year. I started every game but the first one. We played North Carolina.
Were you scared as shit?
I was nervous. I think everybody has nerves. I know people like to say they don't, but there's a lot. It's football. So especially as a quarterback, where so much of the game is in your control from you're touching the ball every play. I definitely had some nerves, but I think it's good. I had good nerves, and I remember. Being on the headset the first week, we played in the Chick-fil-A kickoff game in the old Georgia Dome versus North Carolina. It was Mitch Trubisky at the time, Ryan Switzer, that whole crew. Grayson Lambert started that game. Loved Grayson. He was an incredible dude to learn from. I competed with him. He was a transfer from Virginia at the time, a fifth-year senior, and I was a true freshman. So I started the game as a backup. It was somewhere along the halfway through the first, maybe into the second quarter. I'm on the headset getting the calls, and then I hear Kirby say, hey, I think it's time to put the kid in. I'm like, oh, I'm the kid. That's me. So I get that instant the butterflies and the heart. Yeah. And then I remember the next drive, the next series, going out there, and just the place erupted, and it was nuts. And I'm like, this is it. We're going. And
whenever I have adrenaline, my hands start shaking. Your hands can't shake when you're a quarterback.
Right. You got to be kind of even keel and chill. But that's all part of that whole freshman year learning process, was managing those, being a freshman starting the SEC, because you're going to go through ups and downs. We had an incredible team and an incredible staff, but there was so much I learned from that year. So I ended up starting, I don't know how many was it, 11 out of 12 games that year. We played TCU in the Liberty Bowl in Memphis. That was a fun game. Played against Kenny Trill, and then so the next year, Jake Fromm came in, and I ended up competing with him for the job in over camp and in the spring. Ended up winning the job, and then first week, it was the second series against Appalachian State at home opener. Got pushed out of bounds late and dinged up my knee. So I was out 8 weeks with that.
Yikes.
Georgia goes on to go 8-0 with Fromm. We're rolling. Fromm's a hell of a quarterback too. He's still on P squad in Detroit. So shout out Jake. But yeah, we had a great team. We had Nick Chubb and Sonny Michel in the backfield. We had Mecole Hardman at receiver, Riley Ridley. We had a great squad, and
that's gonna be tough though, like getting injured and seeing your team like continue on.
it was super hard. But like I'm sure as we get into this episode, we'll start talking about NFL stuff. It actually taught me a lot about how to manage those emotions that I was not used to after being a 4-year starter in high school, being the number one guy, coming in and starting as a freshman. It was definitely a lot from the competitive, like challenging mindset as wanting to be the guy, but I had to really kind of embody that team first, thing, because if I had made it a scene about that, I didn't want to be the guy that was making it about me. And we're 8-0. I can understand why Kirby made the decision he did, and I fully respect Kirby as a head coach, still do to this day. He's incredible. It was just one of those situations where I had to do what I could to continue to improve and grow as a player, but also be there for my team. And then, it's a contact sport. So at any given time, same thing could have happened to Jake, and I would have been right back in.
Right.
So
then when did you make your decision that you were like, when did you make your decision that you thought to yourself, okay, maybe it's best if I head out?
So it was... We ended up going to the national championship that year against Alabama.
Oh, fuck.
That's when Tua came in and threw it up the sideline in a whole shot to Devontae Smith, and they won. It was the week before that game. I had dwindling thoughts throughout, the back half of the year. Like, all right, what am I realistically going to do here? We're rolling. Jake's a good player, and then they had Justin Fields coming in the next year. So I wasn't sure if they were going to transition towards like a running style, zone read type offense. I'm a pro style passer. Like, I'm a pocket guy.
I know. I have no idea what that means.
So I'm like a Peyton Manning, not a Lamar Jackson.
Okay.
So that's what that means. But so I was kind of curious. I'm like, what route are they going to go here? And obviously we had a great team. So I don't know, all right, what coaches are going to be gone here? Like, what is the best decision for me to go in and continue my college career, and continue my aspirations of getting to the league?
Because the chances of you being the backup quarterback and going to the NFL, they start dwindling down, right?
Right, it's slim, exactly. And then the other on top of that, it's like, all right, I know Jake just had a stellar year as a true freshman. He's now going to be a true sophomore with all of that in his back pocket, and then we're going to bring Justin on top of that. So do I have to compete with Jake, who just balled out with the national champions as a freshman, and Justin, who's the number one recruit coming out of about 45 minutes south of Athens? Like, and I wasn't afraid of competition, but at the same time, I'm like, realistically here, what are my chances here versus if I were to transfer somewhere else and go, at the time I had to sit out a year. It was before the transfer rule, and it was before the NIL. So
so if you transferred, you had to sit out a whole year.
Correct. Unless I lawyered up, and, some guys did that. I didn't really think that was like the right thing to do, because you have to kind of go through some loopholes, and I didn't want ever to have any question marks about,
So now what are the transfer rules? You can transfer and play?
Yeah, you can transfer and play right away. I think I don't know what the exact rules are, but there's guys just flying out left and right. And it's almost in a way like it's from what I've heard. I'm obviously not in college sports right now, but I would have almost rather had it. I definitely would have rather had it my way, because you pick a school and you stick it out. Like nowadays, kids, you don't get the job, you're out. But then there's 3 other kids transferring to the same spot. So it's like
it works in your favor too.
Correct.
Okay. So that makes sense.
Which is nice, because I ended up transferring to Washington, and at the time, Jake Browning was the starter, and I knew that. I knew I had to sit out a year. I knew he was going into his senior year. So I'm like, okay, let me go here where Jake is the established starter, and he's going to play this season. I'm going to learn and soak it up and be the scout team guy, learn the offense, get to know the players, get to know the coaches, get to know the university. Not that I needed to know the university more than I did, because it was in my backyard growing up, but... Yeah, so I decided to transfer to Washington and see that through, and it ended up working out in my favor. So it was there was a lot that went into it, and the other things was like, all right, do I want to go somewhere else and try this all over again in a place that's completely foreign, or do I want to have the benefit of playing?
There was like a familiarity.
Correct, okay. And also Chris Peterson's another all-time head coach, one of my favorites. So that factored into it as well. But yeah, I ended up, back to your question, making that decision. Back half of the year, didn't say anything until after the year, because again, I wanted to make sure
you kind of sit on it. You have to make sure that you're 100%.
Right. And then also we were going on a national championship run. So I didn't want any of the narrative to be about me leaving the team while the team was such a strong unit and we had all this stuff going for us. So there was a lot that kind of factored into it behind the scenes, a lot of talk with my dad, and yeah, it was good.
That's kind of cool, though, that you have your dad to be the sounding board, because he kind of understands, to an extent, like all of the feelings and like the pressure and just like football in general. And so it's good that you had that support system, especially going to the NFL draft and like entering that process. So you did or did not graduate college before entering the NFL draft?
I did not, which, if I could give any advice out there, I would say make sure obviously if you know you're a top 5 guy, go do it. But if not, get that degree. Because right now I have 2 finals this week and I'm done, which is awesome.
Congratulations
My mom's
on
gonna be
graduating.
so happy for me. Thank you. But no, yeah, get the degree if you can. But I did not, to answer your question.
Mm-hmm. So what does that look like? You like declared to what? Like,
yeah, so you have to talk to your coach. You have to talk, your academic advisors. You have to, like put everything on hold.
Right.
And the NFLPA and everything does a great job of like allowing guys to go back and graduate. So that's what I'm currently doing. But yeah, you have to talk to your coach. A lot of you have to talk to agents too after you talk to your coach and get that all figured out. So,
quick question about now that you're getting your degree, like, after you've gotten drafted and everything, do you pay for it, or is the NFL paying for it?
No, so actually, I was a scholarship player at University of Washington, so I haven't technically like retired yet. I haven't gone through that process. So once you do, then the NFL can go back and reimburse you for it. But I remain really close with my academic advisor at Washington, and also I was a student athlete there. So
I didn't even know my academic advisor.
Right. So shout out Liberty. She's the best. I ended up just taking online classes through the communications department, and I was still on scholarship. So,
oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. That's incredible. Because I was like, do you have to pay for that? Okay. That's nice. I gotta say, I am not the only person in my household with a New Year's resolution, and I'm not talking about my husband or my 1-year-old. I'm talking about our dogs. When it comes to our dogs, I've been trying to feed them as healthy as possible, and I've been doing a lot of research, and that's when I've came across the farmer's dog. And I am guaranteeing to feed them the farmer's dog all throughout the new year, and feeding them something that they actually enjoy, something that I know what are in their ingredients, and it's a win-win. They love it, it's healthy for them, and it's really easy for me to use. So this year, you can give your dog a fresh start too. The Farmer's Dog makes feeding real, healthy dog food easy and convenient, and your dog's gonna like it. My dogs are obsessed with the Farmer's Dog. They have these pre-portioned meals, and they're personalized for your dog's needs, which make it simple to help your dog reach and maintain a healthy weight. If you've ever thought about making the switch, now is the time. So what makes them different from other dog foods is the Farmer's Dog is developed by on-staff board-certified vets and veterinary nutritionists to be complete and balanced. So it's made from human-grade food, real meat, real veggies, and they're gently cooked with the safety and quality standards of human food. So like even the best, quote-unquote, traditional dry and wet dog food options are highly processed. And because pet food is very loosely regulated, it can be a lower quality than they even claim to be themselves. So right now you can get 50% off your first box of fresh, healthy food at thefarmersdog.com/Sunday. Plus you get free shipping. So just go to thefarmersdog.com/Sunday and get 50% off. That's thefarmersdog.com/Sunday. 2025 is right around the corner, and every new year I like to take a look at my goals, what I want the next year to look like, fitness, health, babies. Like I'm thinking about everything, and I feel the need to talk about Burn Boot Camp because I've been going to Burn Boot Camp for the past 5 or 6 years. It is my favorite workout class. It is so non-judgmental. It's a welcoming community. There's tons of other moms, and I always get feedback whenever I talk about going to a workout class. Everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, how are you jumping into workout classes after having a baby?" And Burn Boot Camp is my favorite place to do it. Obviously, I've only had one baby, but after I was postpartum, going back to these classes, like the instructors are so welcoming, the community is there, and I truly love Burn Boot Camp. And right now, Burn Boot Camp is offering 30 days for $59 to jumpstart your commitment to you, which is perfect for the new year. And I mean, let's be real, as a mom, you're juggling a million things and self-care sometimes can feel impossible. And like Burn Boot Camp gets that. So they have child watch and workouts that fit in your schedule so you can prioritize yourself without feeling the guilt. I started bringing my daughter and I was obviously very nervous to do that, but she is so excited to go every time. She loves playing with the other kids. And I also get to get a workout in, so it's a win-win situation. This Commit to Fit promotion is a call to action to reclaim those promises you made to yourself because they do matter. So pull them off the shelf, blow the dust off them, and seize the moment for self-care through commitment. At Burn, they believe it's not what you lose, it's what you gain, strength, confidence, community, and they're setting a new standard in fitness. I truly love Burn Boot Camp, you guys. I, again, have been going for almost 5 years. Burn Boot Camp is changing the way women see their bodies, and I truly believe it. So visit burnbootcamp.com/Sunday Sports Club. So then you go through this whole getting drafted process, which I mean, we can touch on a little bit. Did you go to the combine? Did you go to the Senior Bowl?
I did not because I was not graduated.
Oh, you weren't?
Yeah, you have to like be a senior and be graduated. So I was technically a redshirt junior when I declared because
Okay.
I started as a true freshman, but I redshirted when I transferred and sat
Right.
out. So that was my redshirt junior year.
And for the people who have no idea what the fuck a red shirt is, what is that?
It's basically like, yeah, when you don't play in a season, right? Like,
Yeah, so you can sit out a season
Yeah.
for whatever reason.
for whatever reason, if you're not playing and then you get, yeah. So I guess I technically don't even understand it myself, but I redshirted.
A red shirt year means you didn't play that year.
Correct.
Okay. So then you do the combine. Isaac always describes the combine as like a meat market because like they measure your hands, they measure your height, they measure how high you can jump, how fast you can run. Like it's literally a meat market.
Absolutely. I think that's the best way to put it.
And on paper, like how tall are you?
I had measured in at the combine at 6'5" 3/4. Justin Herbert got 6'6" on the dot, so I was kind of pissed about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I always called myself 6'6", but I guess I'm 6'5" 3/4. That's what the meat market
People
told me.
ask like the specifics. I'm like, I literally tell people I'm 5'11" and a half because I do not want to own the 6 feet. So then the draft comes around. What were your thoughts and feelings towards the draft? And what was the experience? Because it's a fucking stressful experience waiting to get a call.
Yeah, it was super stressful, but at the same time, it was like an accumulation of a college career that had gone not exactly how I had predicted, but like I was super happy to have gone through everything that I did. So I definitely was nervous, a lot of stress, but at the same time, I'm like, I just tried to enjoy the moment because that's a moment that not a lot of people get to experience. And I was very fortunate to be in the position where I was invited to the combine and then also like,
Everything thereafter.
eligible to be drafted in the NFL
Yep.
draft. That's an accumulation of a lifetime of work that, and a goal of mine that I'd had since I was just a little kid tossing the rock with dad before the school bus,
Yeah.
So
And I'm sure it's a surreal moment, even like knowing like, oh, the NFL draft is next week and I'm going to get drafted. And your dad never played in the NFL.
No.
So it was a surreal experience, I'm sure, for the whole family.
absolutely. And they all came down. We rented a house in Costa Mesa. I had 4 or 5 of my best high school friends there as well. And we had like the camera set up kind of like this, or in the case that I did get drafted, it would be on ESPN or whatever the draft was on.
And did they start filming day one?
They did, and I got drafted day 3. So I sat there through the first round, the second round, the third round, and then the fourth round. I picked 122. Indianapolis Colts called, and that was where I
And took you off the board.
had my moment. Yeah, it was.
So, I mean, the 3 days of waiting for the call, looking at lights, looking at cameras, knowing that like, especially towards like the middle of the draft, they start putting like, oh, here's the number 1 quarterback, here's like the whatever. And so you're just sitting there waiting, like thinking what?
I'm like, I hope I get picked.
Right.
Like I got all these cameras here, which I was hesitant at first. I was very confident that I would get taken, but I didn't know when it was going to happen.
Right.
We had a lot of good quarterbacks in the draft that year, and a lot of good players in general. So, and you never know. Like people, your agents will be like, oh, here's what we're thinking. It could be from
Right.
this to this to this. But at the end of the day, a
You
lot of
never
things
know.
happen on draft day. So,
A
yeah,
lot of things happen,
a
and
lot of things happen.
it's crazy because if one player like doesn't get taken as high as they think that it's going to get taken, it's like a domino effect of like a team could grab a different person and they don't grab you, and it's crazy.
It's a crazy experience. And then especially like when you're like on the team later on, and then you watch the draft again, knowing what had happened, like I don't know, it was a crazy day, but I was again like it was one of the days I'll never forget because it was a like I said, a lifelong achievement had come true. So I was very fortunate to get the call from Indy. I actually, going back, I was a huge Colts fan growing up randomly because I loved Peyton Manning. He looked like my dad, and he was like a pocket style thrower, and I was like, let's go. This is crazy coincidence, yada yada yada. But no, draft day was awesome. It was stressful, but once I got that call,
Everything else
stress
went out the
gone.
window.
Yeah, cracked a beer with the buddies, jumped in the pool.
You're
Yeah.
celebrating.
Yeah.
And would you say that you were happy with the round and like the position that you got drafted?
Yeah, I mean, like I always say I would never change a thing. Like, yeah, would I have liked to be drafted in the first round? For sure. But then you look back at the guys that were
Same.
drafted in the first round. Like, yeah, like the money's great, but the position you're in, there's a lot more like urge to play right now. A lot of the guys that get drafted higher are on worse organizations with bad rosters around them. So I felt good about going into Indianapolis. It was a dream come true. A team that I rooted for my whole life, and so yeah, no, I was happy with where I was drafted, and I was just eager to get there and kind of get the playbook down, meet the players, meet the coaches, and get going.
Mm-hmm. And you played with the Indianapolis Colts for a year before Isaac got signed to the Colts. So how was that year? I mean, in terms of quarterbacks, what was it? Was it Phillip Rivers?
It was Phillip Rivers, yeah. Phillip Rivers, Jacoby Brissett.
Incredible guy.
One of the best guys I've ever played with.
Can handle throwing footballs and 9 children.
Correct. 10. One more on the way. Yeah. Since we've left. So he is one of the, like, obviously future Hall of Famer, one of the like another one of those guys I grew up watching, like.
Was it cool to play behind a quarterback that had such a intense career in the NFL?
Yeah, absolutely. I learned a lot, but at the same time, playing behind Phillip, he was 17 years in at the time. I was a rookie. So
17 years
in. So he had been playing since I was a little kid collecting his cards, like, but at the same time, like, I learned so much from him, but at the same time, it was so much knowledge so quickly because he was so experienced and advanced.
Yeah.
Like going through
he doesn't know how to dumb it down.
Going through, pass breakups, going through everything. It was just like so fast and going through it, and his verbiage was just
dadgummit.
And so there was so much information being thrown at me so fast. I soaked as much as I could up. Like, but I don't know if I had the capacity to soak up everything. Football wise, like I learned so much from him as a man, as a leader, as a father, like, and as a leader on the team. He was incredible. Like he was, if not the best, one of the best that I've been around.
He knows his way around a football team. And something that Isaac mentions is that when he got drafted and the first game he ever played in, it came to his head like, holy shit, I'm playing with grown men. Like the guy next to me has an entire family. He has like 5 children. He's like grown. And like here is Isaac coming out of college, like literal. Is it intimidating playing with?
Definitely.
Because there's such an age gap when it comes to the NFL. In college, you really don't get that. Like you get a little bit, but not at that level.
100%. No, you hit it on the nose. Like Phillip was obviously a crazy example because he has 9 children and a huge family.
I am a child.
Yeah, also 2020 was a weird year because it was COVID.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, it was just a weird. So my rookie experience was like half the games had no fans. We had no preseason. Like we were Zoom meeting all the way up until training camp, and it was just this weird. Like we were going through 7-on-7 walkthroughs virtually. Like if you can even conceptualize what that looks like.
I can't because I don't even know it. Like
I was sitting in my apartment on Balboa on a Zoom meeting, like going through my cadence and talking about coverage, like as it was like on a picture, a moving picture on my screen with the whole offense. It was the most bizarre thing I'd ever I'd ever gone through, but that's all we could do at the time with the pandemic.
Right.
So that was the initiation to the NFL, and then it was straight into training camp from there. So we hit the ground running. So you talk about like
0
obviously
to
you
100.
see all their faces on Zoom, and you're talking about like grown men and families.
But
I
then in
remember
person.
my first like welcome to the NFL was when I walked into the indoor training facility for our first walkthrough.
Mm-hmm.
Quentin Nelson, Ryan Kelly, Braden Smith,
Oh,
Anthony Costanzo. Like these dudes were massive. And I'm like, holy, I thought I was big. Like I'm a 6'6" guy,
Yeah.
but I'm like looking at these dudes. I'm like, I don't even know if I can see over
Quentin
the line of
Nelson and Ryan
scrimmage
Kelly
right now.
are
Big boys.
Yeah.
Big boys. Great dudes. Big dudes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So that was my kind of welcome, like, oh, this is grown man football. Yeah.
Obviously, I have to touch on the fact that Isaac got signed to the Colts. That was his first time going to a team that was new.
Right.
Because he had gotten drafted by the Chargers, stayed there for 4 years, made friendships, all of that. And so when Isaac got signed to the Colts, we were like, oh, fuck. Like, how is this going to compare to a different team? And it took like a few games, but eventually like we started hanging out. And I think the first time I ever went over your house was the game you got thrown into towards the end of the game.
LA Rams. Quite the experience.
Yeah. So was that your first game getting thrown into with the Colts?
Yeah. So that was my first regular season game.
You seemed stressed after the game.
I
You were
was
just
because,
not even stressed, but just like, oh wow.
Yeah, because it was like an accumulation of I did the first year, I didn't play a game. I was inactive every game because we had
Jacoby.
Yeah, we had Philip was a starter, Jacoby was a backup, and it was COVID. So I was like half the games I was in the press box because I couldn't be on the sideline because they can only.
Oh yeah, because of COVID and everything.
So I had mastered the offense and I had known the team very well and I had learned a lot. But I never even preseason I never got the reps I had accumulated were only in practice. So my rookie year I learned a lot on the
so
fly.
different
But
from
yeah,
the
exactly.
game.
So I took all that and then I attacked the training camp the next year. And at that time Philip had retired and it was Carson Wentz.
Mm-hmm.
And me and Sam Ellinger. So I had 3 halves of preseason football under my belt. We played week 1 against Seattle. We lost that game. Week 2 was the Rams, the one you're addressing right now. And so I was a backup for the first 2 weeks. Carson had sprained an ankle against Seattle, and then against the Rams, late in the game, he sprains his other ankle and he goes down. I think we were down 14 at the time with 2 minutes on the clock. So it was. My first crack at a regular season game was in the most unconventional, but that's the life of the backup quarterback, you know. So it's hard to
It's not convenient.
No, it's not convenient at all. And in the NFL, it's all about performance. So it's no matter what
you're expected to perform.
Exactly, and that's where it gets very challenging to just go in and plug and play because I had done the whole pregame warm up, and then at halftime I'm doing the high knees and I'm throwing on the sideline, but at the same time the guys that I'm going into the game with have been playing for almost 4 full quarters, in the game. Not that I wasn't in the game on the sideline, but it's all right, I got to go in right now. And it's not hey, let's just get an easy completion here to get his confidence up. No, we're taking shots because we need chunks to get down the field and score because we're down 14.
Which is, a shot. You're I not only have to go into this game in a very stressful time in the football game, but I gotta fucking win this.
Right.
And they're not gonna be. It's not there's 5 minutes on the clock. How many?
I think there was 2 minutes 20 seconds, and
so
we're
it's
down 14.
Yeah.
So we need to get down the field. We need to score. We need to kick an onside kick, and we need to score again. And that's.
You're This is my first NFL game.
I went in confident, and I was all right, let's go let it rip. Let's go,
Right.
Obviously, I ended up throwing a pick to a corner. I don't know if you ever heard of Jalen Ramsey. He's a pretty good player.
Yeah.
And that was I threw the pick, and then, the next, we did a couple trick plays, but that experience was it was cool, but at the same time, it's I'm not that is hard to go in and plug and play. Now, there are guys who have done it and succeeded in it, but as a quarterback, you very much want the entire game plan open. You want to have a little bit of a leash because nobody's going to be perfect. I know there's a lot of guys that are really good at what they do, but at the end of the day,
there's no perfect quarterback.
No, going in with your play card like this, and then in the situation where you're down 14, and you practice it in practice and you do it, but for me, that having that as my first experience was very stressful. Mm-hmm. But again, I'm glad it happened.
The quarterback has to be the most stressful position.
I would say so. Now, there are, I'm sure, other positions could contest to different reasons why theirs may be. But I just, from a cognitive level to touching the ball every play to, mastering protections and coverages.
You
and
also
all that.
have somebody in your ear.
Correct.
So I feel like I have to ask a few quarterback questions because like Isaac, if he misses a tackle, it's like, oh, fuck, like I missed that tackle. I have to get it next time. But like as a quarterback, if you throw an interception, oh, fuck, like everybody knows that you threw an interception. Right. Whereas Isaac could like kind of play under the radar. So for a quarterback, you said you have the play calls. Where are the play calls at? Are they on your wrist?
Yeah. So some teams do wristbands, some teams don't. So Philip was never a wristband guy. He was
memorize
17
it.
years in. So he would obviously memorize the game plan and the calls, and we'd practice them all week. But he would just be like, all right, give me the call in my ear, OC to my ear, boom, done. Call it, spit it off in the huddle. Now, Jacoby was a wristband guy. Carson was a wristband guy. So I was a wristband guy too. Obviously, I was a second-year guy as well. Like, I just felt better. I knew the game plan, but I felt better about going to the game. Hey, what if the comms get messed up? Like, just give me a number. I can read it. But then there's certain situations, 2-minute drills where you're signaling, or they're just giving you one-play words, or, like one-word plays. But yeah,
so
it's
like all of the
based.
things that are happening on the sideline, like a head coach touching his head or something, that's calling to you a certain play.
Yeah, depending on
I know nothing about
head coach
offense
or offensive coordinator. Like whoever is the play caller is going to be in the quarterback's ear, giving him
and so
thoughts and plays.
They're not talking while you're throwing the ball.
No, so at 15 seconds on the shot clock is when communication cuts out.
Okay. Clutch, because like I can't imagine like throwing the ball and someone's like, "Hey, is that my beer?" Like,
right? No, yeah.
I know they don't have beer up there, but like if that accidentally happened, okay, so that's like a lot of pressure. You end up losing the game.
We lose the game.
Now that year, Sam Ellinger had been drafted, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So was there a thought in your head like, "Oh, I just like fucked up my chances of playing next week," or
yeah? So that was my like as a like I mentioned before, it's all about performance.
Yep.
And so I was like, okay, I just got my chance. I had 2 minutes of play, maybe 5 passes. I threw a pick. Did not feel great about it. Like we lost the game. So I'm like, shoot, like is that it? Like, is that my opportunity? Like I have so much more to prove. I wish like I want a clean shot at this. Like I want to go in and get, a start. Like I want to have 4 quarters of play to get in a groove, to get, give me that early bubble completion.
Start me at the beginning of a game so I can.
Right. Let me get a couple handoffs. Let me get the defense sucked up so I can take a shot. Like I want that. And so that's, in the back of my mind, I'm like, shoot, like did I just kill my chances of doing that? And I don't, like I still to this day, I don't think I did in that instance. But then the next week is when I got released. So full story here. It's like that happens, and I'm talking to my parents, I'm talking to my coaches, and they're very reassuring of like, hey, that's a very tough situation to be thrown in for your first action. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, I understand that, but as a professional athlete and doing my thing, like I'm like that is still a very real case that could be happening, right? So, we go into the next week. We're preparing for the Titans. We're 0-2 at this point, and we're playing a division rival, so we need this win bad. So I get called into the coach's office, and I'm like, holy shoot, like this is like Carson's still dinged up. Like this is I'm gonna get called up, and this is gonna be my real chance at my first career. Like let's go. Like I'm fired up at this point.
Yeah.
And then I go in there and
can you hand over your iPad?
Yeah. Hey, bring your charger, bring your iPad.
Yikes.
Mr. Ballard wants to meet with you. I'm like, wait a second. This is not what I thought was going to happen in my head. So now I'm like, I'm not spiraling, but I'm like, shoot, like, okay, what are they going to say? What's the word?
Right.
I go in there and,
which I have to say is that's like pretty fucking cutthroat. Like you play maybe a handful of plays, barely.
Yeah.
And released.
Correct. And it was,
there are a lot. I feel like NFL teams vary in like how cutthroat they are.
I agree. Yeah,
and politics play a huge part, which you would think that being drafted the year prior would play into your favor, especially because a 4th round draft pick. Like teams would say politics wise, like they want to see you like evolve. So interesting.
Yeah, it was very interesting. It was. I went in there and even I felt like they were still being loyal. It was to the situation that I just brought up, we were 0-2. We wanted to get a win against our division rival at Tennessee because we had hopes of, playoff aspirations that year. And
Right.
so they bring me in there, and actually, so it was me, Sam Ellinger, and then Brett Huntley. Brett Huntley was our third at the time, or fourth, excuse me. He was a
Yep.
4, 6, 7 year guy, maybe. Played in Green Bay for a long time, Arizona. Had a
Mm-hmm.
lot of experience playing. So when I go in there and I sit down, meeting with head coach and GM at the time, it's like, hey, we're going to release you, and we're going to have you sit through waivers, and we're going to sign you back to our P squad, and then we'll elevate you as you go on. But we just feel, for where you're at in your career, we want, if Carson can't go, we want to give the start to Brett because he has experience.
Which
We're
is
0-2. Like,
crazy because he wasn't the second string. He wasn't
Right.
the third string. He
he
was
had a good preseason, and he's a
Right.
great player. And I could understand where they're coming from as being 0-2, and they're like, hey, we want to give you a cleaner opportunity to, like, go out and start, right? Like, but at the same time, I'm like,
I was gonna say, do you
hey,
think
like,
they
I've been here for a year and a half, and like I'm very confident in my abilities, and like I want to go, like that's
Right.
in the back of my mind. Like I give me this opportunity. Like,
Yeah.
why am I here if that's not the case? So I ended up getting released, and they elevate Brett, and
So he was on practice squad?
he was on P squad at the time.
Okay.
And Sam was our inactive 3.
Got it.
Also, like, as I'm speaking to these guys, great, fantastic dudes.
Absolutely.
Like, that's just like,
no,
you know.
absolutely.
And I also don't want this to come off as like a sob story for me. Like,
No.
like, as you mentioned, is a very professional, business-driven league. Like, it was just like, I'm just giving a little backstory to the people that don't know. Like, it was.
I don't think people hear though, like the cutthroat parts, which you and I know, like the
Right.
NFL at the end of the day is a business. So it's understandably and for whatever reason, they have to make decisions because they also have a job where
Right.
they could also
Right.
lose their job. So it's just like a never ending.
Right.
I don't think it's a sob story. The only sob story is my husband losing his job 2 weeks before I gave birth. That's the only time I will be like, what the actual fuck?
That's fair. That's fair. But yeah, at the end of the day, everybody's just trying to feed their families,
Yeah.
So
Okay, I talk a lot on this podcast about sports, but I also talk about being a mom, my pregnancy journey, postpartum. And when I'm talking about pregnancy, I feel like I have to talk about my Oura ring because I have never been on traditional birth control. I used my Oura ring to track my cycles. And I am such a big fan of the Oura ring when it comes to keeping track of my fitness, maintaining goals, but also getting pregnant and not getting pregnant. Oura ring is the revolutionary smart ring that delivers personalized health data, insights, and daily guidance. I've been obsessed with tracking my sleep scores. The nights that are a little rough and I'm waking up a few times, I kind of neglect to look at my sleep score because I just don't want to be held accountable. But the nights that I'm like, oh, wow, I feel like I got a good night's sleep, I always run to my Oura app to check on how my sleep was. Oura Ring also empowers women to better understand their bodies so that they can be their own health advocate. We all know people are like cycle syncing and going off their follicular and luteal phase, like all the phases. And it's so interesting to be able to compare my fitness and like my calories and my sleep with how my cycle is evolving. So the Oura Ring works with the Natural Cycles app, and that's how I've tracked my cycles over the past few years. The benefits of Natural Cycles and Oura Ring 4 synced partnership: you can take control of your fertility effortlessly. So the Oura Ring 4 provides a continuous, precise data on sleep, temperature trends, vital stats, and syncing daily with Natural Cycles for insightful fertility tracking. Definitely necessary because I'm not trying to have a baby anytime soon. So commit to your body, commit to yourself, and commit to your health. Highly recommend the Oura Ring. Again, it is one of my favorite things, and I will be bringing it with me into 2025 because I am not done, and I'm excited to continue tracking my cycle and also to keep myself accountable to the goals that I have for this year. So be sure to visit ouraring.com. Happy 2025, you guys. Did you get a Macy's gift card last week? Because I did. And I will be running to Macy's because I have a few vacations coming up. Spoiler alert, I'm actually headed to a private island. So I'm heading over to Macy's. I have a few last minute things I need to grab. The Prada perfume My husband got me a little sample, and I will be buying the full size immediately with this gift card that my sister got me. Another thing I'm going to do while I'm there is I want to check out their swimsuits. They have like a huge selection of swimsuits, and Macy's really just has it all. So if you were lucky enough to get a Macy's gift card, or maybe you didn't, you can still head into store. And they're currently buzzing with all the holiday spirit still. It's like a holiday hangover, but in a good way, because they still have great deals happening online and in store for you to snag something that you may have left off your gift list. And the new year, take some time to get something for yourself that maybe you didn't get over the holidays. And Macy's probably has it because Macy's has something for everyone and anyone. So you can be like me and head into store at Macy's, or you can shop online at Macy's.com. That's MACYS.com. Okay, so you get released. And then how long after you getting released, you got picked up off of practice squad?
I got claimed off of waivers, actually. So I didn't even I
okay.
didn't even clear waivers.
So wasn't it like 2 minutes left or something
There
crazy?
was like 30 minutes left of the 24-hour period. So I was very okay, my plan was to go sign back with Indy on P squad in hopes of being elevated again later in the season.
Right.
Once Carson got healthy, Brett played, yada, yada, yada. So that was my intention. I'm sitting there at home on a Wednesday because I got released on a Tuesday, and this is during my waiver period. And talking to my agent,
the waiver period is a 24-hour time from when you get released that you can sign back to the practice squad. So
correct, or get claimed by another team.
yes.
So I am sitting at home talking to my agent. He's talking to a bunch of different teams at the time. Nobody's really pulling trigger.
Right.
Which I'm like, okay, like I'm gonna go back and continue to chop wood and get back up to the active roster in Indy, and it's fine because I know the offense, and I've from what I was told by the coaches and the GM, like I have a very good chance of doing that. Hours go by. It's getting close to 5 o'clock, which is when the window ends. Talk to my agent. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go back, sign P squad. He's like, all right, you're good to go. It's about 4:30 at this time, so I drive to the facility. Get to the facility, and I'm literally like pen in hand, like going to sign the practice squad contract, and my phone starts buzzing. I'm like, oh gosh, what's going on? I answer my phone. It's my agent. He's like, hey, Seattle is claiming you. Like you're gonna fly to Seattle tonight and go practice with the Seahawks.
Did
tomorrow.
your heart drop into your ass? Were you like, what the fuck?
I was just so shocked because I literally had pen in hand. I'm like, all right, I'm staying in Indy. It's fine. Like I'll be able to get through this, and
Right.
But at the same time, I was like, holy smokes, the Seattle Seahawks, my hometown team. I'm getting claimed, meaning you're on active, guaranteed 4 weeks. Like,
yeah.
So it was a lot to process at the time. I think at that point I was more excited than anything.
Right.
Because I'm like, holy smokes, I'm going home. Like I'm going to be in front of my friends and family playing for the team that I grew up idolizing.
Like kind of like a aha moment. Like, oh,
yeah,
great.
Yeah. And then from then I was like, hey, like I talked to the guy I was signing with. I'm like, I'm getting claimed. Like I can't sign this. Like I got to go. So
like, okay, I'll take the pen back.
Yeah, so I give him the pen back, and I say my goodbyes in the facility, and that night I'm on a plane from Indy to Seattle.
Are you sitting on the plane like what just happened?
Yeah, I packed as much as I could. Unfortunately, it was laundry day, so I packed as much as I could from the house and what I thought I would be needing to go to Seattle, and I got to the hotel about like 1 a.m. and 9 a.m. the next day, we were out on the practice field in the blue and green.
And you have to learn a whole new offense. Correct. You're in a locker room that you might not be familiar with a ton of players. Correct. It's like a whole new environment.
Absolutely. So it was very stressful, but at the same time, it was a fresh start.
Yeah.
In a team that I was stoked to be on. Not that I was not stoked to be on Indy, but like it was the Seattle Seahawks.
I mean,
it was my hometown team. Yeah. Like Bobby Wagner, Russell Wilson, DK, Tyler, all the boys. Like, yeah. And I would say the most stressful part is that I was claimed and I was the backup that week. 3 days later against the Saints, I think we were playing.
And you have to know the entire playbook.
So at that point, like it, some guys have done it. Like Baker when he went to LA for the week and he balled out.
Yeah.
But even then, I'm sure his playbook was dumbed down a little bit, and him and McVay went through calls. But so I was the backup, and I had a separate wristband aside from Geno's, because at this time Russell had done his finger, so Russell was out for 4 weeks with.
Oh, okay.
I can't remember if he broke something, and it was in his throwing hand.
Right.
So he had a deal going on where Seattle needed a guy, so they claimed me, brought me in to back up for Geno, and this is where Geno started taking off.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had to basically learn as much as the offense I could in a week, but also like, all right, here's the 80 plays that I can master, that in the event that Geno gets hurt, I can go in and let's call these plays.
Mm-hmm.
Geno ended up playing really well and fantastic, and I never ended up getting in that year. But like in the event that he had gotten hurt, like I would have been
You were ready.
4 days, as ready as I could have possibly been. Right, in 4 days. Mm-hmm. So that was the most stressful element of it. But it was an incredible team. Like playing for Pete Carroll is one of my all-time favorite coaches. I know I've said that a couple times about Kirby and Chris Peterson, but Pete Carroll's an all-time guy, and John Schneider, the GM there, all-time. That locker room was incredible. I met one of my other best friends in the league there, 2 of them actually. Mm-hmm. John Radigan and Tanner Muse, shout out to those guys. Incredible people. Had a blast that year. Learned a lot on the fly. Spent a lot of time in that quarterback room just trying to figure out, all right, here's the deal. It's like my first 4 weeks, I'm like, all right, if I go in, these are the plays I master. But by the end of the year, I felt really good about the offense.
Right.
At the time, Dave Canales was our quarterback coach, who is now the head coach of the Carolina Panthers.
So crazy.
Yeah, another one of my all-time favorites.
Jacob has a lot of favorites.
I do. He's an incredible coach. Yeah. He's an incredible man, leader, father, all of it. So, that's the other cool thing about the NFL. It's like you get, whether you play or not, P squad, backup, starter, like you are surrounded by incredibly talented, gifted, and hardworking people and you make those connections for life. So
totally. And it is so crazy that like people think that people who are players that get bounced around from team to team like aren't good. But I think it's like almost the opposite, is that like those players can be like versatile and those players are wanted. And I think I hate that narrative that like, oh, if you're not on a team, the same team for all 8 years of your career, it's like, oh, you're shit.
Right.
But I also think that there's like a lot of misconceptions when it comes to the NFL. And even when you got picked up off of waivers, it's so crazy seeing, because I had never seen that before. You got picked up and you were literally on a flight.
Yeah, that night. It was crazy because I had just rented a house in Indy. It was a beautiful house.
Yeah.
I had moved, I bought furniture, moved in, I was ready to stay there
home.
for 4 years.
Right.
Yeah, and that's just, it is the case for some people, but for the majority, it's just unfortunately not the case. And I had to learn that and adapt and just quickly just surround myself and hone in. All right, how can I make the most out of this new opportunity? And that's what I did.
And so you stay with Seattle for the next year.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of talk about your career after the like getting picked up from Seattle. You stayed in Seattle for how long?
So I stayed in Seattle from week 4 of 2022.
Your memory is insane. Like knowing that it was week 4.
Yeah, because I think it was New Orleans or Jacksonville, one of the two. We played at home.
That's crazy.
And
that's like a quarterback brain right there. Like you have a good memory.
Well, it's because like I spent literally 72 hours straight in that quarterback room trying to master a game plan in case Geno got hurt. Yeah. So I was not going to go in and do what I did against the Rams when my opportunity came again. That was another thing I always would never forget. So I was in Seattle for the rest of that year. Russell ended up coming back 4 weeks after I got claimed. Okay. So I was still inactive all the way through the rest of that year. I was just the third string now that Russell was back. Then I came back, did OTAs, did training camp. But during the off season that year was when Russell got traded to Denver for Drew Lock and a couple other guys. Noah Fant, I think a D lineman and a couple other guys. So that year was interesting as well. That's now 2023? 2 or 22? I think 22. It's 22. Yeah, so the beginning of 22.
So Russell leaves.
Okay. We now have Drew Lock and Geno Smith and I in the quarterback room in Seattle. And Going through OTAs, I got very limited reps. Understandably so. Like again, like I say, understandably so. Like I wasn't happy about it, but at the
Right.
same time, like I could see why. Gino just had a great year. They wanted to see like, all right, is Gino going to be our starter or is Drew going to be our starter? I'm like, well, hey, I'm here. Like,
Yeah.
can I throw my name in the hat? Like, and it just never, it didn't pan out that way. I remember meeting with Pete Carroll and being sat down and him telling me it's really hard to assess three quarterbacks at the same time. It's just like from the rep count in practice to, the ones, the twos, the threes. It is. And
Right.
I understand that.
Yeah.
As a competitor, that really hurt. I'm like, hey, again, it
To
goes
not
back to
even
Indy. I'm
have your
like,
name in
why,
there.
why did I understand I got brought in a pinch because Russell was hurt and you guys needed a backup, but like, what did I do to not be considered as a,
Right. At that caliber.
right. So I remember him telling me that, and it still didn't change my mindset. Like I'm like, look, it's a football. Football's a contact sport. Anything
Yeah.
can happen. Some guy can go down in preseason. I could be right back up. So I still attacked it with very, very limited reps, but
You can only do the best with what you're given.
correct. So I do that, and we go into the preseason. I didn't end up playing the first preseason game. They both played a half, and then there's so many wild stories. Like we go into week 2 of the preseason, we're playing Chicago. At this point, I'm maybe getting 3-4 reps of practice in 11-on-11 settings, so it's very limited.
Yeah.
I know the offense. I've been there a year and a half. I'm very experienced. I'm very confident, but I'm having to stay after practice and throw with guys. In the event that I get tossed in the preseason, because like I need these reps. Like I need to know my receivers.
Yeah.
I need to know like even getting snaps from the centers. It's like I need to do all these things because like I know my opportunity is going to come. I just don't know when.
It's crazy to hear that like even limited snaps, but like there's still a chance you could get thrown into the game.
Right.
Like I've just never thought about, I guess I don't think about offense very often.
Right. No, that's understandable. So we go and we're playing Chicago on a Thursday night, week 2 of the preseason in Seattle. And so we practice Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. This is coming off of the Pittsburgh game where I didn't play at all.
Mm-hmm.
Where Gino played the whole first half, Drew played the whole second half. They both played well, like about the same. But they're trying to, like, Pete's trying to assess, all right, who are we going to start here? And I'm still like, hey, like, I'm like at least let me get some reps so I can, like, have a resume for some other teams,
Yeah.
Like, or, like, obviously I want to stay here as long as I can and continue to grow and develop. But it's Wednesday. Another second crazy story of the pod. Like Wednesday night, or I don't remember if it was Wednesday night or Wednesday afternoon. Drew had practice on Wednesday, but Wednesday night he tested positive for COVID. So all through the week, Gino and Drew are getting all the reps in practice. I'm still getting my 2 or 3 and throwing after. Gino's not going Thursday. He's got COVID. So I'm like, oh.
Like this is an opportunity.
This is my opportunity, right?
Yeah.
So I'm fired up, but at the same time, I'm like, damn, I would really have loved to get, maybe 10 to 15 reps versus my 3 to 5
Yeah.
in practice, right? I know the game plan. I'm fine with that. I'm dialed in with the calls.
But yeah, I mean, throwing a ball is a lot different than like knowing.
Right.
The plays.
Exactly. But like, I just like the timing with my receivers, all that. Like I hadn't had a ton of that other than like on air after practice. So I go in and we're playing Chicago and I get the whole second half. And
crazy
off of like limited reps, and I remember that game very vividly. I thought I played really well. There was a couple throws that I missed,
right?
But again, like I don't.
Based off of like the reps you were given, the opportunity, you thought
yeah,
you played
but
well.
I still feel like to this day that I took advantage of that opportunity as best as I possibly could, and I was happy with it. We lost the game, but I was happy with the outcome of the game, and I made some great throws, and that was like one of my first times other than preseason in Indy. We played Carolina, Minnesota, and Detroit, and I played decently well. That Chicago game was one of the funnest games I've ever played in. It was a Thursday night, like. I remember
watching it from Cleveland.
Yeah, like going up into the game, I'm like, shoot, dude, like I didn't have a lot of reps, but like fuck it, like let's go out there and
kill it,
do my thing, and yeah, I threw the ball to my guy Fuller a lot, and Kevin Cassis, another great dude, and we put some drives together there in the second half and played pretty well. So that was like my claim to fame in Seattle was that game. And then so I got a little buzz in my, little pep in my step going into week 3. Drew comes back, and week 3 we're playing Dallas in the preseason, and so I'm like, all right, well, how's this going to work out? Drew missed the second game, so what are the reps going to look like, as we're playing at Dallas week 3? I'm like, So I don't really know. I don't really get
Right.
told either. I just go attack my week like
Isn't
I
that kind
normally
of crazy?
do. Yeah.
Like not knowing.
Right. And that's kind of the theme of my NFL career was not really knowing.
Yeah. And you're just getting.
Not really knowing when my number was going to be called, which is probably fair to say for most backups,
Yeah.
right? But no, so I go into Pittsburgh, or excuse me, Dallas, and same thing, limited reps of practice, go out there. My opportunity in Dallas comes in another 2-minute situation, tie ball game, or we were down 3 maybe at the time, and I got 2 drives. I think we got a first down, and then the next drive we're down 3, got to go score, get in field goal range, and snap just unfortunately goes about 4 feet over my head.
Oh fuck!
Try to tip it, and it goes right to the Mike linebacker. Game over. So I'm like, oh my god, that's on my resume forever. But it's just another one of those situations where it was just very fluky. Like I had prepared, I had done what I could to put myself in the best possible position, and the ball just bounced the wrong way.
Yeah.
So that was my extent of my Seattle career, because the next week was cut day, and third crazy story of the pod.
Your career is insane.
It's wild. So there's a lot, if you're following along still, if I haven't bored you to death, there's a lot of like moving parts. So I go into the famous cut day, which is everybody's favorite day of the year in the NFL.
I love that day. It's actually my favorite day.
Correct. So I know I'm getting released. Like I've accepted
okay, you're
that
confident in that.
Yeah, but I'm also confident in the fact that I'm going to get brought back based on all the conversations I've had, like, and everything I had accomplished in the year before and in the preseason. So I go in there and I get released, and I'm told, like, hey, don't go anywhere. We're going to keep you back. We're going to bring you back, and you got a spot on P squad. So I'm fine. Like, this is like, okay, like, yeah, I got cut. That sucks. Like, I still think like this is the best possible place for me to be, to learn and grow and continue my career. Again, comes down to the wire, right? Like
24 hours.
24 hours, like 22 and a half hours go by. At this point, we've told several teams no, because we're staying in Seattle. We got a spot here. About 22 hours go by, and Seattle signed somebody to their practice squad. So I'm like, hey, a quarterback. What's going on here? I get a call from the GM. I talk to blah, blah, blah. And hey, like, we didn't see this happening. Like, like, we're super sorry. Like, there's going to be another opportunity out there for you somewhere. You did so much good things for us, blah, blah. We love you. I'm like, well, I was really hurt by that, because I did love Seattle, and I love playing for that staff, and I felt like they were being genuine with me, and I still do. Like, and things happen, and like I've learned to accept that.
Totally.
So there's never been any bad blood with any coaching staff or any of that. But at that moment, I was very like shocked, scramble mode, hurt. Like, this is another one of those instances where I'm like, what in the hell is going on?
So they were just like, psych, we don't actually want you back.
Yeah, we're full scramble mode. They signed a guy and then called me. So I'm like, we're full scramble mode. Like, I'm calling my agent, hey, we got to backtrack. Like, who did we say no to? No, it's 23 hours in. Like, guys are signed.
Yeah.
Like, guys are in place. Guys are on flights. Guys are going to their new spots. So I'm like, holy shit. Like, what
just happened?
What just happened? So we're backtracking. We're calling every team that we had said no to. And we end up calling and getting a hold of Carolina, who
I fucking forgot you played for Carolina.
Yeah, so they have 5 guys in the room, by the way. It's Sam Darnold, it's Baker Mayfield, it's PJ Walker, and it's Matt Corral. I was the 5th, so correct me.
Quarterbacks.
4, yeah.
Which most teams have 3.
This is like an anomaly. Like, right, exactly. So Matt Corral had broken his leg in the preseason week 3. And Sam Darnold got a high ankle sprain in the preseason. So they had PJ and Baker. Sam was on IR and Matt was on IR. So that was really the only reason, like, there was even space for me there.
Right.
So I fly there that night on hour, 23 of 24. I'm like talking to 2 of my best friends in Seattle. I'm like, dude, like, I got to go, like, tonight. Like, love you, bye. Like, this is like,
see ya.
Yeah, insane. And I had established such a good relationship with those guys and that team, and that one really hurt. But again, it was like it's business. Like, it's like the NFL, like we say, it's cutthroat, and all of these experiences kind of, like, as much of a dagger as they were at the time, have really, like, kind of molded me and my personality now. Like
Oh,
there's not a lot
sure.
that phases me these days because I feel like I've kind of been put through the ringer. So yeah, I get on a flight that night, red eye to Charlotte. We're suited up in the Carolina blue the next day, and I'm on the P squad with those guys, and and another great year. Like just an awesome room. I have so much respect and love for Baker and
Right.
Sam, and PJ Walker is another prime example of a backup who's just like gone through the ups and downs, the
Yeah.
CFL, everything, played, didn't play, got some starts. Like he's an incredible dude too. So got immersed in that room, and yeah, it's just been like the whole first 3 years were in a complete whirlwind, and yeah. So I don't know if you have any more questions
No,
you
I
want
was
to ask
gonna
me, but
say,
I'm kind of
but
rambling here.
no, you're good because it's interesting following along your career. So then after Seattle, you went to the Panthers. After the Panthers, you went to the 49ers. And then after the 49ers, you went to the Giants.
Correct. I had a brief stint after the Niners. I went back to OTAs and training camp with the Panthers,
Okay.
and then
A lot.
Giants, and then
Okay.
home, and then Giants again, and then Green Bay for camp. It was just all over
Yeah.
the place.
Okay. So when was the last time you were on a team?
On a team was in August of this year with Green Bay
Okay.
in camp.
So
So technically like a camp roster.
yeah.
Yeah.
But so now how do you feel about like football? Like where are you at now?
I still love it. Like it's always going to be a part of me.
Right.
I've done it my whole life up until I'm 27 now, so really 26 years of my life. Or
Yeah.
I guess you can't count.
You can.
One or two. I since I was 4 or 5.
Yeah.
So it's always going to be a part of me. It's taught me so much about competition.
Right.
Love. Hard work, dedication. Like because it takes a lot to get to the level that
Yeah. I
that
mean,
I was at.
it's very rare to make it to the NFL.
Right. Now I'm not like I do feel like there's a lot that I wanted to get done, but at the same time it's like I understand the rigors and I always think about this too, like no matter how good you are or the position you're in and like how much you fully do prepare, there's a lot of luck that is involved in
Absolutely.
like sometimes the ball just doesn't bounce your way.
Yeah.
Like
There
I feel like
is a lot of luck.
I feel like, like there are the instances that I did play, like my preparation was there. I was supremely confident in that.
Right.
But yeah, one or two bad throws doesn't look great on tape and, the ball didn't bounce my way there. But then on the flip side, there's guys that get put in certain situations like and the ball does not bounce their way and more power to them and they have a, longevity wise bigger career. But
Is there like a part of you, and I know it's not like woe is me, you're not like want pity, but is there a little part of you that's like frustrated because the player you are and you think that there have been opportunities where the ball just hasn't bounced your way?
there were definitely moments of frustration.
Yeah.
But football has given me so much, and it's also given me so much like my mental health has just like I never was like a big like I grew up in like a very like my dad's old school, right? Like so my
Rugged and
household
tough.
rugged, yeah, like if you're hurt, don't show it. Like
Right.
rub some dirt on it, strap it up and go. Like so I was always that way. And even on like the mental side of things, when I got cut and released, like I was like, I'm good. I'm gonna go figure it out. Like I'm
Yeah.
gonna go attack this next opportunity. But looking back now and even like towards the back half of my career, I was like, this is kind of taking a toll on me. Like I've moved around so much, like and
It's a lot.
and the opportunities that I was given or and played in, like it was stressful because I was 4 years, 5 teams, 5 playbooks, 6 head coaches. Like there was a lot to just
So many apartments and moving and
Correct.
all of that.
and
Yeah.
all the back half of it. So like looking back now, like no, I'm not like angry or mad because again, like all of these instances have kind of shaped and molded my mindset towards
Totally.
my next thing. So it's like I'm very thankful is the word. Like I'm like
love that.
as much of a shit show as it was at points, there was so much good in all of it. Like the relationships, the players, the coaches, like even like down to the player engagement stats,
Right.
staffs. Like I have so many resources and contacts that I can use and
Totally.
chat with for whatever comes next. So,
You're grateful. You're grateful
yeah,
for the
I'm
NFL.
grateful for you guys. Like
Yeah.
there's so much out
That you
there that I
wouldn't-
would have not had I not experienced
the career
this.
that you had.
Correct.
So are you happy? Are you looking, like, what are you looking forward to? I mean, you're about to graduate. So, like, what's next?
Yeah.
Like, are you still
so
playing football? Or?
I've definitely put it on the back burner because like in the back half of in the last year. So I've been doing school for the last year because I've been in and out. Like when I started doing school when I was on a break between Carolina and New York.
Between teams, yeah.
Because I'm like, whoa, I've been on the couch for 8 weeks. Like let's start cracking at this education and get let's like get this done so that by the time I'm done officially playing, I can get a job. And sure enough, I sign up for 2 classes and then 2 weeks later I'm on a flight to New York.
It's funny the way football works though.
Yeah.
And as a quarterback, I do feel like you could not play for months and get a call.
Correct.
Because quarterbacks are a very specialty position.
It is. Now the phones have been quiet, but I'm not upset about it because I've actually been taking, like we mentioned, I've actually been more cognizant of my mental health in these last few months outside of it, just taking a deep breath, looking back on it all, taking everything, learning from it. And it's like, hey, now I have an opportunity to take advantage of those resources, get my degree, and really propel what comes
forward.
Next.
Yeah.
So like I've done a lot of soul searching because it is a hard, weird transition where you're like, okay, I've done this my whole life. I know this. Got to the professional level. It's like, how can I take what I learned there and apply it to something else and succeed in that? And I'm very excited and eager to get that going once I finish school. So,
it's exciting. I mean, you're in your 20s. Like it's crazy. I feel like the NFL makes you feel like the time has gone by and like you're old, but like everybody's figuring it out in their 20s. So it is crazy. You have a lot ahead of you, and I'm excited for you.
Well, thanks, Allie.
I have some quick quarterback knowledge. So I need you to explain the following types of quarterbacks, and you can just give like a short stint. Doesn't need to be long.
Fire away.
Game manager quarterback.
Game manager quarterback. Right now, I'm thinking Patrick Mahomes, a guy who, whatever the situation is, they know exactly what to do, where to go with the ball, how to manage the clock, how to manage, all right, we need a field goal here, chunk play, whatever it is. Like they're a master at that. That's why the Chiefs are winning all these close games, because Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid are crazy game manager quarterbacks. Obviously, he's a rock star, but that's where my mind goes to.
Okay, gunslinger.
Josh Allen. The dude who's Brett Favre, the guy who's extremely exciting, big arm, like is going to probably force a couple throws in there, but 80% of the time they're going to work. 20% of the time it's going to be like, what are you doing? But the guy is a gunslinger. Aaron Rodgers in his prime. Like, just the most exciting guys to watch, in my opinion.
Interesting. Polished pocket passer.
Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Joe Flacco, the old statuesque guys who have done it for Phillip Rivers. They're not going to run around a lot.
Yeah.
They're going to take what the defense gives them.
They're calculated.
They see drop 8, they're going to hit the check down. They take a one-on-one opportunity, boom, they're taking it. Like they know where they're going before the ball is snapped, and they're just super proficient at it.
Dual threat.
Lamar Jackson.
I was immediately thinking about that,
Yeah, like even Josh Allen. Josh Allen's like the best of both worlds, gunslinger / dual threat. He's an actual freak, and it's so fun to watch. But yeah, those guys tend to be like kind of like the gunslinger category, where they're a threat in the air and on the ground.
Okay, all arounder.
Josh Allen again. Like it's like I think dual threat and all arounder are kind of the same.
Yeah, kind of the same.
I guess you could even go as far as to say like I feel like you could line up Josh Allen at tight end and he'd succeed.
Okay, and then last but not least, we have some rapid fire questions. These are fun. College football or NFL?
College football.
Vintage jerseys or modern?
Vintage.
Rom-com or reality?
Rom-com.
Post-game fancy dinner or late-night drive-through?
Late-night drive-through.
Cold plunge or hot tub for recovery?
Cold plunge. I've been big on those lately.
Pre-game ritual or post-game celebration?
Post-game celly.
Kelsey brothers or Manning brothers?
Oh, man. I grew up, I love the Kelsey brothers, but I grew up a Manning guy, so I got to go with Peyton and Eli. Perfect.
I'll take it. Well, thank you so much for coming on. Where can the people find you on social media?
You can find me on Instagram. You can search for me on TikTok. I'm not as big as a guy over here, but Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. I haven't been on there in a while, but at SkinnyQB10. That's me.
Skinny QB, thanks for coming on.
Al, thanks for having me. This was so fun.
Take care, guys.